Well, I managed to get the computer monitor a little bit more to my liking here. Is it 100%? No, but it's going to have to work. I think that's about the limits of its available movability, as it were. Let's let's get on with the reading. Since I am late, for which I must humbly apologize. If I was on the West Coast, I would only be 10 minutes late. Here we are. This is called The Sun is Present Always. The sun is present always. This complicated moment on Earth is no time to retreat into the simplistic metaphor of bringing the light. The hope we must maintain, the imagination that we must use, and the physical health that we require all ask of us a more intricate wisdom. And that was Leander Lynn Holt from Rooted, Life at the Crossroads of Science, Nature and Spirit. And I looked her up, and she's kind of an interesting character. She says that she is a writer, a naturalist, a mother, an Audubon master birder, a wildlife watcher, a dirt worshipper, and I did look that up, and it's got a lot of completely different meanings. Obsessive diarist, closet poet, spinner and knitter, barefoot walker, and woodland wanderer. So that's a pretty big group of things that she's actually got herself involved in. I looked at the dirt worshipper thing, and it had got some meanings from really good to not very good. So I'm taking the good ones. I guess it means that she is at one with the earth. She gets down in the dirt, as it were. So I'm taking the good definitions. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind magazine from December 1962, when he was still around, so on the planet, actually. Page 48 says, God the divine never had but one son. This son is being born at every season, in every place, through all races, in all nations. Every birth is a divine event. Every conception is immaculate. And he probably cribbed that stuff, actually, from Meister Eckhart, who was a Middle Ages mystic, who said something very, very similar, actually. He actually said something like, what good is it to me if God's son was born, well, then to him, like 1,350 years ago, but is not being born to me now? So, in other words, he's not denying that Jesus was a unique character in history, but what he is saying is that every single person is a son and daughter of God, of the divine, of the all, however you want to look at it. So that's where he's coming from there. And Reverend Kris talks about what's relevant today. Today, actually, being the 21st of December, in whatever year, is the winter solstice, which is the day when we have the least amount of sunlight in the northern hemisphere. It's gradually gone from the 21st of June, when we have the most sunlight, all the way through to now, the least sunlight. But of course, in the southern hemisphere, it's completely different. It's exactly the opposite, as I'm sure most of you know. I got a friend who's in Australia right now. In fact, she called her husband when we were coming back from shopping. Went shopping with us, and she actually called him from Australia. He said, I'll call you back when I get home. So she's actually she has enjoyed the day with the most sunlight. Of course, now for her, it's the 22nd because of the time difference. So tomorrow and the reason I'm telling you all this is because tomorrow at our center, if you live in the area, at 12:30, we are going to have a winter solstice celebration, and it will be run by my colleague, the other assistant minister, Reverend Lisa Ryan. She will be running the winter solstice event. If you want to know more about it, you're going to have to come along, or you can probably Google it, actually. But anyway, so if you're in the vicinity, 12:30, if you can't make the service even, come for the winter solstice event. So Today's the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. A time, she says, Reverend Kris says, that reminds me of the origins of the Christmas tree. In ancient times, pagans brought evergreens into their homes during the winter to brighten their spaces, to celebrate the solstice, and to remind themselves that the sun would return. In northern climes, which is where a lot of these celebrations took place, these quote pagan unquote rites took place. Besides being the day with the shortest amounts of sunlight, as you get further and further north, you end up getting zero sunlight when you get far enough north. So in the part of the world I came from, there wasn't much sunlight on the 21st of December. It's really a very short amount of daylight. So it's telling people, hey, the days are going to get longer. From here on in, the days are going to get longer all the way through to the 21st of June. Reverend Kris says, I find it meaningful to remember that just as the sun is always present, it is, with its light obscured only by the Earth's rotation and, of course, clouds, spirit is always within me, even if my perception and awareness fluctuate. Recognizing our inherent wholeness, especially when life feels lacking, such as during the dim light of the winter solstice, it can be challenging. Yet, wholeness is our true essence, even if it doesn't manifest as what we deem good. It might seem to appear as always incomplete, as messy, as painful, or even difficult. In such moments, remembering that wholeness equals oneness, and oneness is spiritual truth, is a spiritual truth, this can offer us comfort. Perhaps during tough times, we can find ways to metaphorically bring in a tree and celebrate the balance of all experiences, trusting in the continuous presence of spirit within us. What are you reminding yourself of today? So it's going back to the idea of the winter solstice. It's really a magical time of the year, especially for kids, right? And we're going to get, as we get into the 25th of December in another 4 days' time, it gets even more magical for kids. So we're going to save some of that until more of our experiences later. So the whole point of the story here is that even in climes where you can't see the sun, like if you're at the North Pole, you're going to have 24 hours of darkness at this time of the year. But even there, the sun is there somewhere, even though you can't see it. It's obscured because of the Earth's rotation, the tilt of the planet. And so what Reverend Kris is saying is that even in times of our own darkness, the spirit is always there with us. And whatever term you wish to call it, God, the divine, the all, the ground of all being, you can even call it the quantum field if you like. It's always there, it's always present, even in those times when things seem dark and really hard. So that's the message. Tomorrow, yes, we will have our regular service at 11 a.m. Reverend Lisa will be back tomorrow before the service. She'll be doing double duty tomorrow as well. She'll be on about 9:15 in the morning, and then she will dash down to Creative Life, where she will actually be helping broadcast our service out to the world. She and Daniel Mercadal, between them, will broadcast it out. I'll chip in occasionally. And then she will do her closing, and I'll do my announcements. If you're one of the ones who come on and only watch Reverend Jesse speak and nothing else, you're missing out, because quite often the music is really good and it lines up with what Reverend Jesse's saying. If you miss the announcements, well, you never know what you're missing. So, and if you miss the closing, well, you miss being sent on your way with a blessing. So please stay for the whole service. I'm sure that you will find that eventually you'll get it to a point where you can actually start to say, oh yeah, I was missing out on something. That's really all I've got to say. It is kind of late. We still have a lot to do tonight. So I am going to sign off And I will see you all tomorrow, and just have a great rest of the day, whenever that turns out to be. And if you can possibly attend our service in person or online tomorrow, then please do so. And if you can't do either of those, then check it during the week, because it will be there, just like these readings in the morning and the evening. They'll always be there, at least while Facebook is around and YouTube's around and LinkedIn's around and all the rest. So until next time, namaste.